Welcome to Modi Briefing. The content of the briefing includes Blinken meeting Indian counterpart amid fallout over Sikh leaders' killing. Fallout from Canadian Sikhs' killing may pose predicament for US with ally India. British Sikhs concerned over lack of security advice after activists' murder in Canada. Chinese smartphone giant Xiaomi expands production footprint in India. Why US won't get India and Vietnam to corral China. Blinken meeting Indian counterpart amid fallout over Sikh leaders' killing. Al Jazeera. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has urged India to cooperate with Canada's investigation into the killing of Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. The request came during Blinken's meeting with his Indian counterpart, Subrahmanyam Jaishankar, in Washington, D.C. The Canadian government is investigating allegations of a potential link between India and Nijjar's killing. India has rejected the accusations as absurd and politically motivated, while also accusing Canada of harboring Sikh terrorists and extremists. The US has been caught in an uncomfortable position as it seeks to court India while also addressing Canada's concerns and countering China's influence in the Asia-Pacific region. Fallout from Canadian Sikhs' killing may pose predicament for US with ally India. South China Morning Post. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has accused the Indian government of being behind the assassination of a Canadian citizen who advocated for a separate Sikh homeland. Trudeau made the allegations against India during a speech in the House of Commons, stating that any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of sovereignty. The accusations have resulted in a diplomatic fallout between Canada and India, complicating efforts by the US to build a united bloc of allies in the region. The US has spent the last decade strengthening its partnership with India, but Canada is a NATO ally and a friendly neighbor. The allegations have put the US in a difficult position, as it needs both countries as partners. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, said that the US was deeply concerned about the allegations and wanted to see accountability. The US Ambassador to Canada, David Coun, confirmed that intelligence from the Five Eyes network helped lead Canada to make the allegations against India. The Indian government has called the allegations absurd and accused the Canadian government of creating a permissive environment for anti-India Sikh separatists. British Sikhs concerned over lack of security advice after activists' murder in Canada. The Guardian. The Sikh community in the UK has called on MPs to explain what measures are being taken to protect Sikh activists in the country following the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada. The Sikh Federation is concerned that no security advice has been given to high-profile individuals or Gurdwaras, despite allegations by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that the Indian government was involved in Nijjar's death. The Federation has drafted a letter for Sikhs in the UK to send to their MPs, asking for clarification on the steps being taken to protect the community. Chinese smartphone giant Xiaomi expands production footprint in India. South China Morning Post. Chinese smartphone manufacturer Xiaomi has partnered with Indian consumer electronics firm Dixon Technologies to increase production of its handsets and other devices in India. Dixon Technologies will assemble Xiaomi smartphones and other electronic products at its facility in Noida, Uttar Pradesh. The move comes as Xiaomi and other major handset brands, such as Apple, look to boost production in India to meet growing demand in the country, which is the world's second-largest smartphone market after China. The partnership also comes as Xiaomi continues a legal battle with Indian authorities over the return of $676 million of its frozen funds. Why US won't get India and Vietnam to corral China. South China Morning Post. India and Vietnam are not interested in aligning with the US against China, according to Richard Haydarian, a Manila-based academic and author. Despite the US seeking to integrate New Delhi and Hanoi into its strategy against China, Vietnam is focused on de-escalating tensions with China and maintaining party-to-party ties, while India is committed to a multipolar world where non-Western powers have greater strategic autonomy. Both countries are also reliant on Chinese technological inputs and investments and are more interested in strengthening economic and military foundations than aligning with the West against China. Wind is back in the sails of India's Congress Party. Diplomat. India's opposition Congress Party has had a change of heart as it begins to plan its strategy for the 2024 general elections. The party has already enjoyed success at the state level, winning elections in Himachal Pradesh and Karnataka. Congress President Rahul Gandhi has expressed confidence in the party's chances in the upcoming assembly elections, and the party has begun to develop a clear roadmap for the 2024 polls. The Congress believes it can dent Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Hindutva vote bank by championing the cause of the other backward classes, OBC. What you need to know about the Cricket World Cup stadiums. Al Jazeera. The 2023 ICC Cricket World Cup will take place in India from October 5 to November 19. The tournament will be held across 10 stadiums in various locations across the country. The opening game will be a rematch of the 2019 final, with defending champions England taking on New Zealand at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. The final will also be played at the same venue. Other stadiums that will host matches include the Arun Jaitley Stadium in New Delhi, the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai, the M. H. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai, and the Eden Gardens in Kolkata. The Ahmedabad Stadium, which is the world's largest cricket stadium, was controversially renamed after Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2021. The tournament will feature 10 teams competing for the biggest prize in cricket. This will be the 13th edition of the ICC Cricket World Cup. Curfew in parts of India's Manipur after protests over killing of students. Al Jazeera. A curfew has been imposed in the Indian state of Manipur following violent protests over the alleged abduction and murder of 2 students. Ethnic violence in the state, which borders Myanmar, has resulted in more than 180 deaths and the displacement of 50,000 people. The violence is occurring between the state's 2 largest local groups, the Meitei and the Kuki-Zo, who are fighting over land, jobs and political power. The state's chief minister, N. Biren Singh, has promised the maximum punishment for those responsible for the students' deaths. India imposes curfew in strife-hit areas of Manipur state. Reuters. Curfews have been imposed in the Indian capital and parts of Manipur following violent protests over the alleged abduction and murder of 2 students. The violence is part of an ongoing ethnic conflict between Manipur's 2 largest local groups, which has resulted in over 180 deaths and the displacement of over 50,000 people. The conflict is largely driven by issues of land, jobs and political power. The recent protests were sparked by the discovery of the students' bodies, with members of the Meitei community blaming Kuki militants for the killings. The Indian government has been criticized for its handling of the violence. Sikh separatism is a non-issue in India, except as a political boogeyman. New York Times. The recent killing of a man on India's most wanted list in Canada has sparked a diplomatic row between the 2 countries. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused Indian agents of orchestrating the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada, a claim India has rejected. While the Indian government has claimed that Canada's lenient approach to Sikh extremism poses a national security threat, analysts say that the violence in Punjab is mostly gang-related, involving extortion, drug trafficking, and score settling. The criminal masterminds largely operate from abroad, taking advantage of economic desperation in Punjab, where farmers are burdened by rising debt and many young people lack employment or direction. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has seized on the issue as a political narrative ahead of next year's national election, portraying himself as a strong leader who will protect the nation. However, there is little support for a separate Sikh nation in Punjab, and the portrayal of security risks in the Sikh community has reopened old wounds of prejudice against them. India's spy agency adopted new playbook before accusation in Canada killing. Wall Street Journal. India's Foreign Intelligence Agency, the Research and Analysis Wing, RAW, has adopted a more aggressive approach under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, security experts have said. The agency has expanded the presence of its spy networks in the Western world, including in countries such as the US, UK, Canada, Germany, and France. The agency has cultivated more local assets to assist in surveillance, sharing actionable information, and covert operations, according to officials. Allegations by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that India was potentially involved in the killing of a Canadian citizen have put a spotlight on the Indian spy agency. India has denied the allegations as absurd and politically driven. Indian security officials say that the agency has not carried out covert kill operations as alleged by Canada and that Indian leaders would not authorize such action. The US needs India to buffer China, and Modi knows it. Bloomberg. The killing of a Sikh separatist in Canada in June, allegedly by agents of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Indian government, has opened a rift between one of America's closest allies and one of its most vital geopolitical partners. Biden aims to bolster a threatened global order by hastening India's rise. As India rises, however, it will act in ways that sometimes challenge the very order Washington must defend. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6 Degrees world, here to bring you the latest news from around the globe. Today, we have a mix of diplomatic tensions, technological partnerships, political strategies, and sports excitement. Let's dive in. First up, we have the fallout from the killing of Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar, which has led to a diplomatic predicament for the US. Canada has accused India of being behind the assassination, while India has vehemently denied the allegations and accused Canada of harboring Sikh extremists. The US, caught in the middle, is seeking to address Canada's concerns while courting India's partnership. Talk about walking a tightrope. Moving on, we have Chinese smartphone giant Xiaomi expanding its production footprint in India. Xiaomi has partnered with an Indian electronics firm to increase its production in the country, as it looks to meet the growing demand for smartphones. This move comes as Xiaomi continues its legal battle with Indian authorities over frozen funds. Looks like Xiaomi is determined to make its mark in the world's second-largest smartphone market. Next, we have the analysis that India and Vietnam are not interested in aligning with the US against China. Both countries are focused on maintaining their own strategic autonomy and strengthening economic and military foundations, rather than siding with the West. So, it seems the US won't be getting India and Vietnam to corral China anytime soon. Shifting gears, we have the wind back in the sails of India's Congress Party. After enjoying success at the state level, the party is now gearing up for the 2024 general elections. Congress President Rahul Gandhi is confident in the party's chances and believes they can dent Prime Minister Narendra Modi's support base. Looks like we'll be seeing an exciting political battle in the years to come. Now, let's talk sports. The Cricket World Cup is set to take place in India in 2023, with matches being held across 10 stadiums in various locations. The opening game will be a rematch of the 2019 final, with defending champions England taking on New Zealand. Get ready for some thrilling cricket action. Lastly, we have the curfew imposed in parts of India's Manipur state due to violent protests over the alleged abduction and murder of 2 students. Ethnic violence between local groups has resulted in numerous deaths and displacements. The state government has promised to bring those responsible to justice. It's a tragic situation that highlights the ongoing conflicts within the state. Well, there you have it, folks. A mix of diplomatic tensions, technological partnerships, political strategies, and sports excitement. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. What do you make of these news stories? Do you have any burning questions? Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the Sikh team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of Sikh Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the Sikh team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize Sikh Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, sikhstubrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive Sikh Brief via email.